Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Chronicles, with us, the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
And I'm Nick.
And this week, welcome to Paul Merson's Nightmare, Bastian Schweinsteiger, Morgan Schneiderlin, Matteo Darmian to add to Memphis Depay. We told you we were right about Ed Woodward, you know. United chat coming up next. Recorded then on a Thursday night, I think, is the important thing to start with.
Yeah, I did like that intro, by the way.
Thank you.
Paul Merson is going to struggle.
He is. He's going to have a nightmare with that. He really is. But we had a bit of a nightmare too, Nick.
I don't want to talk about it, Andy.
I think we've got to get it out of the way. We've had the stick for it. But yeah, I want to start with a partial apology to Ed Woodward. Only partial, right? We did say a few things on last Thursday's show, and by the Saturday...
I stand by some of it.
I still do, but we'd signed 3 players by the Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
It didn't go so well. So Ed, not that you'll be listening, but we partially apologise at the Red Devil Chronicle for slagging you off.
Well done.
Yep, United have played the market very well so far. It appears that we have kept our cards close to our chests from what I gather now looking at it. But are we done yet? Absolutely not, no. I mean, we're going to talk about it throughout the show, but there's still a few issues need sorting
3 or 4
out.
players, isn't there?
And players potentially leaving Old Trafford as well, I think is still an issue. So there's still things for you to do, Ed. You're not getting United yet, but, you know, you're a couple of signings away. So crack on, basically. But yeah, bit of an embarrassing start there. But let's crack on with the United chat. Let's have a chat through what has happened this week, of course. And Nick, let's start with the 4 transfers now that we're on to. I mean, how quickly emotions can change in the space of a week. How are you feeling about the 4 new transfers we have now?
I'm very happy, if I'm being honest. I was very excited about the Depay signing. Then there was this long-standing 3-4 weeks where nothing happened. United fans were getting really impatient about it all. Matteo Darmian pops up out of nowhere after we thought we'd missed out on Klein. And now we've got an Italian right-back, you know, international as our main right-back now. He looks a good prospect. And obviously, Morgan Schneiderlin, we've been banging on about him since April. We both love the guy. That I have always said that he's the most integral signing that we've made since, 4 or 5 years ago. And then we've got Sebastian Schweinsteiger. I think everyone knows his skills. World-class player. If he can stay fit, obviously that's the only issue. But one little stat that I did read, he's only missed 2 league games since November. The fact he's only played 20 games was an injury that he got at the start of the season.
I mean, obviously that's, could be something to look into. Because
we'll read into that as you want, but
he has only started 20 games a season or in that for the last 3-4 years. So yeah. He has been plagued by an injury, but we'll see how it goes under Van Gaal. He's trained under him before. Hopefully they can make it work.
What do you think? On November to the end of the season, May time, how many games is there? He missed 2. So the start of the season really bothered him, with the injuries, and he missed a lot of time. But I think he's been, unjustly labelled because of that.
I mean, I still stand by it personally. I think that Morgan Schneiderlin is our most important signing to date. I don't know if you still agree with that.
It was the only signing I got potentially excited over before we made it. When the first rumour came in from the Mirror and he said he was going to have his medical on a Wednesday and Wednesday flew past, like you mentioned last week, it was the signing that I really wanted. When we got that one over the line, I thought whoever else comes now is just a bonus. But we needed that Morgan Schneiderlin in that midfield, sort it out. He'll come in. I suspect he'll start against Spurs. Obviously, Van Gaal made a little quip about him playing in the Premier League before and being used to it already. So that was probably a little hint that he's going to probably start against Spurs.
Sort of questioned as well, didn't he? Because Schweinsteiger and Darmian have never played in the Premier League before. He sort of gave it a mention.
It was a warning shot across the bow, wasn't it? That's what it was. Yeah, it was.
He came out and said, that they've got questions above them because they've never played in that league before.
Yeah.
Was he sort of hinting that Schneiderlin's going to be the man that starts against Spurs then?
I think it was. That's what I got from it. I don't know what anyone else got from it, but when I was watching it, I thought it looked like he'd looked at Bastian and Darmian and sort of said, Morgan's played in this league before. He knows the physicality of it. He knows the speed of it. He knows what's expected. He's played man of the match against Chelsea, City. He's played really good games, and I just think he is going to start against Spurs, and I can see probably Schneiderlin on the in the starting 11 for quite a while before he gets taken over.
Well, let's bring someone else into this. We've got Joe here, of course, who produces the show as well.
Hello, Joe.
Hello.
Can you hear us all right?
A bit early again today. It was a bit of a surprise. I was just having a bit of a drink over here. And
Just wanted to get your opinion, really. Obviously, Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger are the two big names that have come in there in the midfield. That seems to be an area that we've strengthened in particular. I mean, in your opinion, do you think we've now got the strongest midfield in the Premier League?
No, I wouldn't say the strongest. I mean, I think you're
On paper, we do.
I don't know. Chelsea, you've got to look at it. I know you've got what players like Matic, Hazard, Oscar.
I'm talking the sort of holding side of it. I'm not talking the three behind the striker, for example, or the wingers.
Are you talking? So you're just talking the kind of the defensive side, and
you sort of your Matic and. Well,
I think our current midfield now with Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger and Carrick and Blind and Herrera, I think it's better than what City and Chelsea currently have.
It's an arguable point, but again, we're playing a different tactic to them, so we're not playing.
Oh, yeah, we're possession based.
Yeah, so whereas Chelsea are going all the time, it's kind of a fluid attacking style.
It's just through Hazard, isn't it? Chelsea?
Yeah, it's more a structured approach to it, which is the Van Gaal way.
Speaking of tactics, does anyone see the formation changing?
No.
As much as we'd like to.
I mean, you mentioned before you wanted you were on the phone to me, and you wanted a different, a more suitable tactic and the formation.
And he's been going on about this 4-2-3-1 quite a bit.
Right, you've heard it as well, haven't
you? he pipes up a lot about this formation.
Here's the thing, right? I know Van Gaal's going to stick with 4-3-3, so it's pointless me mentioning it anyway. But
you will.
I'm going to anyway. I just think if you look at the players we've got in the side and you look at getting the best out of the squad we've got, you've got a couple of really good holding midfielders. Carrick's not going to go on forever. So you could sit Carrick or Schweinsteiger in, you could sit Schneiderlin in there, literally whoever you want. Even Herrera could sit in that job, he's done it before. And then I think that frees up a position where you can either put Mata in the three, in the middle, or Rooney if we sign another striker. I just think it's the way of getting the best out of the squad. But that's just my personal opinion. Don't know what anyone else thinks on that.
I disagree with it. I think we're going to play possession football predominantly. That's what Van Gaal likes. That's what he feels comfortable with. We're going to need three across midfield. It'll be Carrick or Schweinsteiger holding. Herrera will probably be a stalwart in that midfield now. I can't see him moving. So he'll be on the right-hand side, and I think the left-hand side is built for Schneiderlin long-term. You
talk about a retention game, though. Where's the retention up top?
Up top, this is the issue that we have. We have, obviously, Memphis Depay. I think I want Juan Mata to keep his position. I don't know how you feel about that, but...
How's he keeping it?
Well, from form based off last season, does anyone else that we currently have deserve to go straight in there ahead of him?
No, but he's not used in his most effective way out wide.
9 goals
right.
last season. From
Absolutely,
midfield.
But a lot of that was coming in field, and then we lost shape if we lost the ball.
You're still forgetting Rooney as well. I've got to bring it up.
I know you've mentioned it. I heard you mention in the background. I heard Rooney.
You can't argue with the passion and the chase that he'll give for a ball. I know he's kicked out a few players and got a few red cards for it.
The recycling of the ball in the top third, though, with Rooney there last season was terrible.
We'll talk about this later on, but a lot of people say one of the main criticisms that I have of Rooney, I don't think he scores enough, and the excuses they get bound round about, he's played in midfield, he's played on the wing, he's not in a stuck position. Let him have there for a season. Just play up front. Just leave him there and see what happens.
Okay. So, yeah, let's see what you've got to bring to the table. I mean, of the signings we have brought in, being positive, which one of the signings we've made are you most excited about?
Schneiderlin.
I'd agree.
I think, obviously...
Do you feel the same on that, Joe?
Depay. I've been,
we know.
Huge Depay fan.
I know. Someone's got to have a different opinion. Like last week when I said don't blame Edward Wood, nobody listened to me. Well, this week,
let me explain what for Schneid, because a lot of United fans will say Schweinsteiger, but me and Andy, we bang on about him for ages. Right? He's the type of player we needed. He slots right into our midfield. He's Premier League experienced. He's young, and he's a very, very good player. And he steps up in the big games. I think that's something we've been missing in midfield. He's going to do a better job than Fellaini, technically, in the middle.
Thank God Fellaini's out of the team, that's all.
Yeah, potentially.
Squad player now. Impact squad player.
I'm happy with all the signings, obviously, as I'm sure you are.
Oh, yeah, delighted.
Yeah, all four are absolutely superb.
I never thought we'd get Schweinsteiger.
I didn't either. But I still think Schneiderlin for the longer term,
Yeah.
You look at building foundations, as Van Gaal's well known for, obviously, Ajax, Barcelona, Bayern Munich. That is the start for me of a foundation builder.
But that's exactly what I'm saying about Depay
That's another start,
on a 5-year deal.
He could well be.
Start, yeah.
United have been missing the flair. We've not had it in a couple of years, and I think that's a young, talented player. It's almost Ronaldo-esque. What could happen to the club?
I hope so.
Well, I was worried when I read those headlines that when we got Schweinsteiger in, that Van Gaal was going to end his pursuit in Schneiderlin. I was devastated, but obviously that's not happened.
Yeah, we've pulled it round, and Ed's done good business so far, thankfully. I mean, how many signings do we think we need to be back winning trophies realistically?
I mean,
3.
You look at West Ham, have already got 6. So I mean, if we're going to be, I mean, if a lower team than us can get 6 players in them, I think we should
3.
be matching the same amount of kind of squad building.
We've signed 4, and I think we need another. Obviously, a centre back. I think he's definitely needed. I've said before, Chris Smalling in my eyes is long term. I don't think any of the others are at the moment. I do want a genuinely world class centre forward. I think we'll all agree on that. Someone that can get 30 plus goals in a season, not 12, and possibly a new goalkeeper, depending on Dave.
Well, we've got
and Valdez.
Valdez making
Valdez is gone, isn't he?
Standing up on Twitter today, but
yeah, he's gone.
No, I think we're kind of almost there. But you've got to look at if we can only bring in one more player, which end you'd put it. And
we're potentially 2 players away from challenging for a title.
Yeah. I think we are.
I think a striker and a defender, and then you've kind of completed the puzzle of what was wrong with last year.
I don't think defence is a necessity as much as a forward is. I think we definitely need a centre back, but if I had to choose between a centre forward and a centre back, I would prefer a striker.
Really? That's interesting. So you're saying that Rooney, Hernandez?
Put it this way: if there's a choice right now between Lewandowski and Sergio Ramos, Lewandowski would be my team straight away, and I'd just make do with Chris Smalling and Phil Jones at the back.
I mean, this is a debate we've got coming up in the Fan Takeover in a moment, but you're saying then if it came down to it, in your opinion, between signing one more, say, theoretically, between a centre-forward and a centre-back, you'd go centre-forward?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be inclined to agree with that.
Yeah, I'm a bit harsh on this front. I mean,
don't get me wrong, we know we need a centre-back, but we don't score enough goals.
I just think there is still attacking talent in United at up top. I mean, Chelsea only have, we could argue, one out-and-out good striker. So why do United have to have all these?
We don't have one.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point. I don't think we've got a world-class striker or anything near it. I think Rooney's on the decline. I think we'll see that this season.
Decline last few seasons.
Yeah.
And once he plays up front for an entire season and we don't win the league, I think that'll finally shut the excuses up.
I mean, again, save this and Joe, get ready to sample it. If it comes back and bites us 6 months down the line.
Yeah, do a Van Persie. Save the interview.
Yeah.
I'm compiling everything. Just
Please do.
Your Ed Woodward last week.
Joe, if Rooney comes back and bites us at the end of the season and he gets 25 goals.
If he gets more than 25 goals next season.
Yep.
Go on, what's the bet? Have you got one?
Are we gambling already?
Do we really want to commit to this, Andy?
You probably just move on.
Yeah, I think we'll leave that.
Move on.
I don't think he'll do it, but I'm not willing to bet on it. So then, we'll move on because, of course, we've just covered one of the debates, which was if we only had one signing left to make, which could be the case, would you pick centre-back or centre-forward as the priority? Now, when I say we all, Joe doesn't agree.
2/3 of us.
2/3 of us at Red Devil Chronicle agree that we should have a centre-forward over a centre-back. And next up, we're going to hear some of your thoughts on that. We're also going to have a chat through some of the other big debates we had on Twitter this week, and that's coming up next. So each week on Twitter we take to the polls and we ask you a few questions about some of the big debates regarding Man United. We did so again this week on Monday, got some great responses which we will go into shortly. But firstly, we've tried to introduce a fan phone-in to the show. We had 2 brilliant callers last week, and I'm delighted to say that first of all this week we're going to kick off with a special guest on the Fan Takeover phone-in. We've got Kev on the line. You'll know him from the United Stand if you watch. So he's on to speak with us on some of the big debates on United this week. Kev, good evening.
Good evening, lads. Are you all right?
Yeah, how's it going, mate?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you very much.
Fantastic. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, Kev. We do it every Monday during the off-season. Basically, the idea is we fire out a couple of questions at other United fans, and we ask you for your sort of thoughts on it. And obviously, we then go on to sort of have a read through some of the thoughts, see if we agree, disagree with that. So we had a couple of questions from the debates that we put on there this week that we wanted to fire at you, if that's all right with yourself.
That's fine, fire away.
Brilliant. Well, we'll start with this one then. This was the first one we went with this week. Obviously, Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin, of course, came in the last week. So we asked a beautifully tough question to the fans. We never thought we'd be in this position. But who would your preferred midfield three be for next season, first of all?
It's what a fantastic question. It's very hard. And I think if you ask many United fans, they would probably pick the two that have just come in, which would be Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin. But if you're asking there, you can only fit three into a midfield three. For me, Schweinsteiger walks straight into the team. Experience, power. He'd run through brick walls for you. So Schweinsteiger's the first one down. The next one for me is a player that's been at United. I think he's absolutely been vital to recent success, an unsung hero. And last season, I think, when he was injured, it's no coincidence that United sort of lost the way. So for me, I'm a huge fan of Michael Carrick. So I would actually put Carrick in with Schweinsteiger. And the way that Herrera finished the season last season, I think I would have to throw him in the mix as well. So they would actually be my three, probably going into the first game against Tottenham.
So there's no Schneiderlin there, is there, at the moment? Because
no, I couldn't fit him in.
No, me and Andy had a little discussion at the start of the show where we decided Schneiderlin was our most key signing this summer. You know, we've been going on about him for months on end, and we were delighted when we signed him, and we just thought everyone else that we've got so far has been an amazing bonus, especially Schweinsteiger.
Yeah, I thought I'd just slightly go against it, if anything. I'm looking ahead, obviously, to the Tottenham game, and I can fully understand. We just spent 25 million on Schneiderlin, so I wouldn't expect him to be out of the team. But I think that's a strong three. That, and
definitely
going into the season, if anything, I think what we're preparing for this season now, we're in the Champions League, and we're going to need a pool of players like we have in past seasons under Sir Alex Ferguson to pick from. And I'm not saying Schneiderlin will be left out. I just think there's certain games that he's definitely going to mix things up, and there's no doubt he'll get his chance. And if he takes it, he stays in the team. You're staying on merit, obviously, don't you?
Yeah, what do you think of Michael Carrick's actually long-term future, Kev? Because now we've got Schweinsteiger and Schneiderlin. He is 34 now. He's not got a long left, probably maybe 2 seasons tops left in him.
Yeah, I see Michael Carrick more as he is the experienced player in the squad, but I think he still offers such a huge presence.
It's just using him sparingly, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing. I just touched on with the Champions League. There's going to be tough games away from home where you're going to need the experience of. We might even play 2 holding midfielders in Schweinsteiger and Carrick, both brilliant on the ball, both can pass the ball. But you've got I'd say the attributes that would be similar to maybe a Keane and a Scholes, really. Schweinsteiger being the Keane, and then you've got Carrick, who's obviously like Scholes. Well, it's hard to believe it's not Scholes.
Yeah, good point.
It's a lovely problem to have, though, isn't it, Kev? To be able to have that to pick from as a midfield three, it's lovely, really. I think it's been a position that's really been neglected for us for a number of seasons. You just picked up there on Scholes and Keane. Is it the first, sort of really good midfield we've had since that time?
It is, and it's been years. You think what we've been through.
Cleverly.
There's a whole host of them the thing that gets me is football these days. The midfield battle is absolutely vital, and it's where games are won and lost. You look at the top clubs there in the Premier League. Let's say Chelsea and City last season. Chelsea had Matic and Fabregas, who complemented each other brilliantly. And even look at Man City. Yaya Toure and David Silva. You just need that right blend in the middle. But games are won there. If you've got a player that can take the game by the scruff of the neck, like I said before with Roy Keane, this is where the games are won. You still need to score goals, but the actual battle it's all about that midfield area, and we've got a squad now, and we've got players there. It's a great headache to have. I mean, I wouldn't like to be Louis van Gaal on the first game of the season.
I think it gives you an insight. I think it gives you insight into Louis van Gaal's philosophy. Other managers would have probably just signed maybe Schweinsteiger on his own or Schneiderlin on his own, but we've gone out and got both. So it shows that the importance that Van Gaal's putting in the midfield.
I've got to say, Kev, I mean, when you're looking at this on Twitter, some of the other fans that have got involved on this debate this week, the majority actually agree with what you've gone for, because, of course, you said Carrick, Schweinsteiger and Herrera. We've got a few people said that. At LVG's Wonky Nose, which is one of my personal favourite handles on Twitter, at Copious Opium also went with that option as well. As did at Agent in the No One. They all went Carrick, Schweinsteiger and Herrera, so the majority of fans agree with you. I mean, Nick, I'll throw it to you quickly just so we can get our thoughts on this.
Yep.
What would your midfield three be, and in an ideal world, preferred?
Mine would be Carrick, depending if he's fit. Mine would be Carrick, Holding. I'd have Schneiderlin where Fellaini was playing last season, the left-hand side of the midfield, and I'd have Herrera on the right-hand side. I just thought, I mentioned earlier, LVG made a little hint on the press conference that obviously Morgan's used to the Premier League and he's used to the intensity of it. Bastian and Matteo aren't used to that at all. So that probably gave a little hint that he's probably going to lean towards Schneiderlin for the first game of the season. Yeah,
that's a good point. I mean, I find it hard to kick Schweinsteiger out, but I find it hard also to disagree with you, Nick, because when we were putting together our ideal team a few weeks ago, Carrick, Schneiderlin and Herrera was the midfield three that we wanted.
At his age, and he's been at the Bundesliga so long, I just think you have to sort of ease him in. I just think you can't really just chuck him in first game of the season.
I'm sure he'd do it, but...
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't mind doing it. It's a good option to have. But...
Definitely. Well, let's move on to the second debate, Kev. We want to get your ideas around this one. The second debate we had centred around this question. With the current squad... bear in mind, this is, of course, recorded Thursday night, so knowing our luck, someone will probably sign tomorrow.
Yeah.
But with the squad we currently have, do you think we'd win the Premier League? Now, just before I get your thoughts on this, Kev, less than 40% of our fans that voted on this thought we'd win the league with the current team. Where do you stand on that?
A very good question again. I think I do think we could win the league. I'm probably saying that with my red tinted specs on, like, obviously being a United fan. But it does look a very strong squad, and I'm looking forward to seeing, obviously, the pre-season. Now, I can't remember a pre-season that had been so sort of in anticipation to see. And the players that he's brought in are excited. A lot of people forget that we signed Depay so early on, and the reports coming back from the tour. I mean, you only have to watch on MUTV. You can see that he looks a quality addition as well. And obviously we've got Di Maria, if he stays. Attacking wise, it's going to be up there with any team in the Premier League at the moment. And as a squad, he's got some fantastic players to select. And like I said earlier, just a great headache to have. So yeah, I would say that definitely a title charge next season. We just need to really hit the ground running.
Definitely. A couple of thoughts from the fans on this who got involved. At Tim_Jones said no, in his opinion, we couldn't win the league with the squad. He said we need 2-3 signings. He said he still thinks we could put up a challenge with the one we've got, but we need a striker and a centre-back. And obviously, new goalkeeper if De Gea or Valdez go. Certainly looks like at least one of them is. A couple of others on here have said that we're sort of assigning a 2 away from it. I mean, obviously, ideal world, Kev. I'm guessing you feel the same. A couple of signings would do it for you.
Yeah, I think most people are looking at that, and it's obviously the two that spring to mind are obviously defensively. We're probably looking for a central defender, something in the mould of a Yapstam or a Nemanja Vidic,
a leader,
just somebody to show the backup. And then, yeah, I think it would be no secret that United are in the market for a striker now that, well, I don't think they've agreed a fee yet, but Robin van Persie looks like he's gone to Fenerbahce even though they've unveiled him. And we need to replace him because it leaves us with Rooney and Wilson up front as the recognised strikers, and we've got a few, obviously, number 10s that could play in behind them. But, yeah, defensively and up front as well.
Yeah. Any shout for Hernandez in there? Do you reckon he could do a job for us this season, Kev?
I really don't think Van Gaal fancies him.
I hope he doesn't.
No, well, he went not in that way.
I mean, in any way.
Yeah, but he sent him off to Real Madrid. I think he burnt his bridges, if anything. Hernandez was quick to say when he went to Real Madrid that Real Madrid were the biggest football team in the world. He tried talking himself into a full-time kind of move over to the Bernabeu. It didn't work out. He's come back, and we're sort of stuck with him for the minute until his collarbone's repaired, and then I would fully expect him to be leaving again once he's fully fit.
Let's hope so. Before we move on to the final debate we had from the Fan Takeover on Twitter this week, Nick.
Yep.
Your thoughts? Current squad, could we win the title with that?
No, I think we're comfortably a Champions League squad, but I think ultimately we lack a world-class centre-forward. You look at Chelsea with Costa and City with Aguero. I think if they stay fit, them two are going to be challenging for each other again, and it's going to leave us in third or fourth. I just think we're a lot more comfortable than we were last season with obviously the signings we've made, but we haven't got a world-class forward. It
steps forward, definitely. I'd agree. I don't think we can win the league with that squad either, so we're of the 60% plus that said we couldn't. But I don't think at the same time that we're that far away. There's a good point made here by @Andrea SWP7 says the team as it stands is already much stronger, absolutely, but we need more squad depth to challenge in the Champions League, Premier League and Cups. We need to replace Van Persie, absolutely, 100%. We need a world-class striker in to replace him. That would be it for me. I mean, let's go on to the final topic. Obviously, with our VP seemingly almost across the line, just need to agree the fee. The one final debate that we had on this was if you had one signing remaining, would it be a centre-back or a centre-forward? Now, me and Nick and Joe had our thoughts on this earlier on in the show. Joe went with centre-back. Me and Nick both went for centre-forward if we only had one left to choose from. 50% of the fans went for a centre-back, so the other 50 went centre-forward. It literally split the fans in half, this one. Kev, one signing left, centre-forward, centre-back. Where would your priority lie?
I think I've had a good think about that, and I think I would have to go centre forward. People will make the argument that will say defensively, teams that are rock solid will win the league. But again, you can flip a coin and look at it at the other side. And attacking wise, if you outscore your opponent, you are going to win games. And I would have to say a centre forward. If we can get a world class striker into that current pool of players. Defensively, now we've got obviously Schweinsteiger who can sit in front of the back four, which last season at times looked very suspect. But we've got Rojo, we've got who else? We've got Smalling, and Jones needs to kick on as well in all central defenders. I would go with I'd go for the forward player if I had the choice.
Well, if you look at our defence, Kev, like the only teams that conceded less than us last year were the champions, Chelsea, City, who finished second, and Southampton, who had like a one season off, where they've already lost two of their main four defenders from that season. So we particularly weren't actually that bad. It just seems to be that we weren't scoring or creating enough goals.
I mean, people say, in terms of the way a season goes, goals win you games, but defence wins you the title. RVP would disagree with that. Yeah. I mean,
exactly, because that first season that Van Persie was at United, you think the games that we won 3-2, 4-3, we were leaking goals that season, and Robin Van Persie won us the title single-handedly that year.
I mean, I know it was a one-off, but these things do happen.
But if we had a Van Persie of 2012-2013 last season, we wouldn't have scraped fourth like we did. It wouldn't have been as close as it was. I think we would have comfortably went in there.
Absolutely, yeah. I don't think we're that far off in terms of our centre-backs. I mean, they need to step up, but, I mean, Smalling took a huge step up in that second half of the season. If he can carry that form into this season, I think he's got to be in there.
I think he's come of age now,
definitely.
Personally.
I don't think Jones is going to make it, sadly, but I think Rojo would suit that position perfectly fine.
If we don't sign anyone else, possibly, I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Yeah.
With Jones as a squad player.
I think we could get by. Hopefully we'll sign both. That's the ideal world, but that would nice. That would kind of get rid of the debate element of it. But... I mean, what a week it's been, Kev. I mean, just to end, obviously, just to get your thoughts quickly, how happy are you with the 4 signings made?
Yeah, really happy. I mean, I was away at the time when the Schweinsteiger and Schneidling, the deals were announced. So they really come out the blue for me when I got the message. I just couldn't believe it. two fantastic signings to obviously add to Depay. Obviously, the right back's coming as well, Darmain. I didn't really know much about him, but from what I've heard and from what journalists say, he seems to be a really good prospect at right back. So that was a problem area last season. That Antonio Valencia, I mean, God love him, he gave it a good goal last season, but I don't think he's ever going to cut it as a right back. But yeah, as the squad looks and the signings so far, I still think there'll be another one or two. How could you not be excited about this season and what's in prospect? Really, it's a good time to be a United fan. Really,
a few exits as well, Kev.
I would expect if they can get for it, probably Johnny Evans would leave. I'm not sure what we'll get for him.
We just need to decide if it's you or us driving him to the airport. That's all, Kev.
Someone needs to drop him off.
I'll give him a piggyback, no problem.
Brilliant. Excellent. Well, it's been a real pleasure having you on the show, Kev, as part of the Fan Takeover. And thanks also to the fans on Twitter for getting involved in that. It's a brilliant thing. We love having it. And you'll see that again on Monday. So do get involved. Kev, we hope to have you back on the show soon. It's been a real pleasure speaking to you. And, thanks very much for your time this evening.
No problem. Keep up the good work, lads. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much. Cheers, Kev.
All right. See you later.
And so that's the fans' thoughts on this week's topics. And next up, you're going to hear about our thoughts from the Shootout. Okay, here we go. It's Shootout time, and for those of you new to the show, just to explain, basically the idea behind it is that there's 5 questions, 2 for me, 2 for Nick, and 1 for Joe, and you, the fans, at the end. We get 30 seconds per question to answer. No interruptions allowed during it, so we have 30 seconds to get all the points out from the question. Once the question's then over, once the time is gone, we then throw it out to the floor. We have a bit of a general debate. That's the idea behind it. Usually ends up in chaos, references to Christoph Samba, etc. But let's see where we can take it this week.
Lee Catamol.
And that, of course, means that we have producer Joe on board. He's the man who asks the tough questions. Joe, welcome back.
Hello. You really got your money's worth today, haven't you?
I have. Yeah. Got 2 links out of you. Doing well. All that for 50p an hour.
I know, it's good, isn't it?
Dave's paying for it, though.
Dave's paying for it, yeah. We'll get to tell him, but look forward to.
Might see an angry tweet later.
Could do, absolutely. So, yeah, I've counted the questions for you to save you the effort, so at least we've done that for you. 5 questions in total, 2 for Nick, 2 for me, 1 for you.
And the fans.
And the fans, absolutely.
Because it wouldn't be a shootout without 5.
Thank you, Nick.
Oh, Nick! he's Nick, my catchphrase. I've got nothing left. I'm going home. I've got nothing else to give to the show.
Shall I fire away then?
Yeah, go for it.
This one's for you, Andy.
Okay.
So it's United on their pre-season tour in America. What are you looking for United to gain from this tour?
So I'd say what I'm looking forward to is seeing Louis van Gaal's system, first of all. Mentioned it before. Will he stick with the 4-3-3? Probably. But I'd like to see the 4-2-3 one. I also think it's going to be interesting to see what he does with Depay. I don't know if he's playing the media, but will he actually play him up front? Does he see him as a centre forward, or was he just bluffing? Is he going to bring someone else in? I think the final thing for me is the Barcelona game. Not only because of how big the game is, but also I think that's going to be an indication of the team Van Gaal will play against Spurs.
Spot on there, 30 seconds.
A big ding in the middle of it as well.
Yeah.
So Nick, to pass that one to you, do you agree with Andy, or have you got a different angle on this?
I think chemistry is the main thing they're looking to gain from the tour. You look at last season, Van Gaal was adamant in his press conference he was happy with Ed for getting the signings in before we went on tour, even though it was very last minute. I think he can work with them throughout the tour now, which is something he didn't have the opportunity to do last summer, so I think it will benefit them. And I think you'll see us hopefully hit the ground running against Spurs on that Saturday on the 8th of August.
I mean, is there anything in particular, Joe, that you're looking at for the pre-season tour? Anything you think United will be looking at?
Well, I'm just interested to see kind of how the new signings will integrate into this tour. I mean, last year we saw Young at his full potential, and that carried on throughout the season. So if we get something from Young like that again, I just want to know how it'll change the dynamic of the squad with the new signings coming in, or will we stick with the players we can trust? That's how I'd feel about it.
I mean, we think, Nick, we had a chat about this earlier on in the week. we think regardless of how the pre-season tour goes, we can't see beyond Young starting on the left.
No, I don't think Van Gaal will risk it against Spurs. He won't want a repeat of what happened against Swansea. I think he'll play predominantly similar lineup to what we had at the last day of the season.
But perhaps with Schneiderlin brought in because of the hint he made about Schneiderlin having the experience to do it.
We've said it before. I believe Schneiderlin will start. I think it'll be a three-man midfield of Carrick, Schneiderlin and Herrera. I think Rooney will be up front. I think Young will probably be left wing, Mata right wing, and I think we'll have Schweinsteiger and Depay on the bench. I think the only one that will possibly start from the current signings that we've made is probably Darmian at right back.
Yeah.
I mean, that's sort of kind of where I was at with that. I think if Young is performing at the level he was last year, why not let him play? You can't argue with that.
Well, they always say whenever a manager buys a player, he'll always stick to what he's actually got already. That player who's bought has to sort of earn his spot, unless you buy someone like Ronaldo who just walks into your team. But I think Schweinsteiger, even though for everything he's won, he's never played in the Premier League. You have to ease him in. 17 years in the Bundesliga, as we've mentioned, it does restrict you a little bit. And I think, obviously, you don't know what to expect with Darmian, but because we needed a right-back so much and he's played in international tournaments, I just expect him to be thrown in. I
mean, you mentioned chemistry. I mean, I think that's a vital component in that first game against Spurs. If you overthink it and change it too much, throw too many new faces in, is it going to gel? It's a big risk.
United fans, they don't need to be under the illusion. We're not going to start opening day of the season and we're not going to have a new goalkeeper, new centre-back, new right-back, two new centre midfielders, new wingers. It's not going to happen. He's going to stick to what he knows. He might put one, maybe two signings.
I think if we signed a centre-back, I think that'd go straight in.
Again, I don't.
I think he'd go in with Smalling.
Smalling and I think Jones.
And Darmian would be the only other. I don't see Depay or Schweinsteiger or any of the other signings we might make.
I think if we play well in the game and say we go 2-0 up, I expect to see Depay brought on. I'd expect to see Schweinsteiger brought on then, but if it's a risky 0-0 with 10 minutes to go, I don't think you'll see much movement on that front.
Okay.
Nick, moving on to your 30-second question.
Indeed.
What do you currently think about the United's goalkeeping position?
Well, the first phrase that comes to my head is lack of planning. I think on both United parts and the players' parts, how we let De Gea's contract run down is ridiculous. He's had 2 solid seasons under his belt now where he's match-winning saves that have got us the 3 points, and we let him run down his contract. What annoys me, before the Madrid interest came about, and that's the poorest thing about it all. Obviously, Valdez looks like he's gone now with the spat he's had with Van Gaal quite publicly, and I think we're looking at the free agent, another Argentinian, Sergio Romero, who's come in as backup.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly looks that way. Sergio Romero's been heavily linked, and Valdez has been shown the door in a blasé press conference.
And unlike Fergie press conference.
It was strange, wasn't it? It was very brutal. I think perhaps too much so. I mean, if Valdez has refused to play for the reserve team or the under-21s, as we believe he might well have, then fair enough, he should be disciplined in-house. I think it was too public to make that statement.
Yeah, I agree with that. It was way too public. It's not a great sign as well when you're in your pre-season tour and your manager is slagging off a player who's won World Cups and Champions Leagues. It's the wrong. And Valdez shouldn't have responded to it publicly. He should the mature thing to do was just keep silent and just get on with his business and just move on quietly.
I mean, does it set a bad tone early on in the season with the rest of the squad thinking, if things happen in the dressing room, will Van Gaal, to get something on the back page of the papers, will he come out and say things that are happening in-house?
It's a little bit. He does have a sharp tongue when he wants to use it. But, moving away from that, one of the worrying things about it, now Valdez is looking like he's leaving. It's dead on certain. Potentially, we need 2 new goalkeepers come the start of the season. If De Gea finally does up sticks and moves to Madrid, with no Valdez, you'd be looking at young goalkeepers in our under-21 teams and possibly Sergio Romero.
Well, it's poor, isn't it? I mean, Joe, get your input on this. Do you think De Gea will stay for this summer? Do you think he's going to go next season?
I think the manager change at Real Madrid helped us out quite a lot. I think it's given us a second wind in keeping De Gea. I think it's one of them, isn't it? You can't be certain until, all our transfer deals have been quite quiet, so we don't know how quiet De Gea's being kept. So at this moment in time, it's very uncertain. It's kind of will he go, will he stay? It's 50-50 for me.
Don't get me wrong. I think De Gea is going to stay, personally. I think United are going to, dig their heels in. I think Madrid won't give us Ramos. So all I can see happening with this situation is De Gea will just, spit his dummy out and think, right, I'm just going to have to get on with it for 12 months.
I think he's going to have to stay.
Yeah.
We're in a dire position if we let him go, as well as Valdez.
We need... Him staying another 12 months will give us a chance to plan who we're actually going to sign. Because there's talk about Oblak, there's talk about Sergio Romero. Are they enough to step up straight away and do what De Gea's done?
I'm not sure either of them are. Leno's another
Good
one mentioned,
goalkeepers,
all very good, but I don't think any of them are ready for that step up yet. I think it's too big.
I just think Woodward's going to dig his heels in and he's going to say no to Madrid, and we're just going to let him go on a free next year.
Yeah, seems more than likely the
I mean,
option.
unless De Gea does the nice thing to United is signs a contract so we can get a bit of worth from him. But
if he signed a 3-year deal, then we could get 50 million for him. But I don't think if he did that, I don't think Madrid would buy him, and he wants to go to Madrid.
I think that's the problem. That's where the issue lies.
So moving on to Andy again. Are we reluctant to sign a world-class striker because of the current Rooney situation, or are there lack of options out there?
I mean, it's a little bit of both, but I'd say it's more down to Rooney. I think he's got too much power. He's been given too much control of the club. All started under Moyes with the contract situation. Since then, Van Gaal made him captain. I think that's only been a bad thing for him. I think there's plenty of world-class strikers out there. How many are available is debatable, but if you threw money at Lewandowski or Muller, I reckon you get one of the two. I just fear for signing like Benteke. Chelsea spent 32 million on Costa. Would you spend that on a second-rate striker? That would be my
It's an inflated market we live in. Thankfully, he's going to Liverpool by the looks of it.
Again, it is, thankfully.
Again, we record this on Thursday nights. For what we're reading now, he's going to Liverpool for the buyout clause, 32.5 million.
I was frightened by that being mentioned. I know we talk about inflated market, but Costa only signed for Chelsea last season, £32 million. You can't spend that sort of money on a second-rate striker, surely.
The only issue that I have, you mentioned it, Rooney's got too much power, and he does have too much power. If we go out and we spend 60 million on Lewandowski, who is a world-class striker, he will come in. He will not be coming to sit on the bench. He will be coming in to play. If he plays, what does that mean for Rooney? That means Rooney's going to be sat on the bench or back in midfield. He won't get in midfield anymore because now we've got Sneijder and Schweinsteiger, so he's not going to get there. So potentially, the only reason we're not signing a world-class striker is because Van Gaal's made Rooney his captain and he's backed himself into a corner a bit.
I think he has, but should we not be signing world-class strikers who are going to score goals? Because for me, Wayne Rooney's not going to score the goals that we need.
Yeah. To be fair, we've looked at Van Gaal. The guy's brutal. I don't think he cares. I think a lot of the issue is at the moment, are they available? I don't think they are. I think clubs are digging their heels in. You mentioned throwing money at them. Unless we throw insane amounts of money, I don't see they're going to sell. It was quoted, their agent from Lewandowski said, 35 million is not going to get you Lewandowski. They're talking 50, maybe 60, even 70 million. These are ridiculous prices. And I think Van Gaal just doesn't see the value in the market.
Then we paid that for Di Maria.
And look how that's worked out.
Yeah, so you've got to say, is it worth the bid for proven talent? And then even then, it doesn't. You don't know if it's going right or wrong. But I guess it depends. I think Rooney is up to it, but I don't think he's kind of the first option. And it's gone are the days we
it's the easy option. It's the comfortable option. I stand by what I said a few weeks ago. I don't think we'll get Muller. I don't think we'll get Lewandowski. We're wasting our time. Higuain's too expensive. Lacazette's not proven. He's not worth the money yet. I'd take a punt on Kane. He's done it in the Premier League. Yeah, he might be a one-off, one season wonder. But I just think, just give him 45 million. Just get him in and see what he does.
I mean, I'd have no problem with that myself, taking a gamble on Kane. Because I think he could see himself as, under the mould of Wayne Rooney, so he might not mind playing underneath him.
That's another issue I was about to mention. Yeah, he wouldn't mind playing. I don't think he'd mind playing second fiddle because we'd have a vast amount of games. We'd only be playing one striker, and you could rotate Rooney and Kane.
Well, Nick, before you say too much, I'll let you save it for this question. Predicts United's options up front for next season.
Okay, without trying to repeat myself like I've just done. Like I said, I don't think there's value in the market at the moment. Lewandowski, will we get him? No. Muller, no. I don't think we'll get him. Higuain, no. Lacazette, I don't think we'll get him. Cavani, PSG have recently said they don't want to sell him for some reason, so I don't think we're going to get Skeletor. Benzema, I'm doubtful of him. 15 goals playing for that Madrid team in a poor league is not good enough. The only one that I see us getting is Kane, and it's worth the risk, and you can rotate him with Rooney.
So are you saying then, Nick? I mean, you've listed off a number of players we're not getting.
Yeah.
So who are we having? Rooney, Hernandez, and Wilson. Is that our
And Kane.
Is that our front three? And Kane, if you get him.
Yeah, but I think one of them's going out the front three. Wilson on loan or Hernandez, which is more likely.
It's an awful front three.
Yeah, but you think we're only going to be playing one striker?
Is it awful having Rooney as your striker?
I don't think he's good enough.
You think 3-4 years ago, would you be saying, "Oh, what an awful decision to have Rooney as your striker"?
No, don't get me wrong. People, when you say you don't think he's good enough, you think he's rubbish. He's not rubbish. He's a quality player, but he isn't going to win you the league. They use this excuse that he's been played in all sorts of positions. He's not, even if he plays up front, which he did for the vast majority of last season. He's not going to score you 25 plus goals. He hasn't got it in him.
You don't know with a midfield behind him. If you've got a midfield behind Rooney, and I mean, you look at Costa, you say an average player, but the midfield around him.
Rooney's 30 in October. Is he going to get any better than he is now?
I think, like we said earlier, he's a player on the decline, in my opinion. I just think if you look at it going forward, what happens if Wayne Rooney gets injured? It can, more than likely can happen. Hopefully it won't happen, but that would then leave us, if we don't sign anyone up front, that would then leave us with Hernandez and Wilson. I mean, it's terrifying.
I think we are going to sign someone.
We have to.
Van Gaal would be stupid. I think if we know, for our vast experience in football management, Andy, I think you'd have to imagine that if
too many hours spent.
If we know that we need a striker, Van Gaal knows we need a striker. Who that's going to be, I doubt it's going to be any of the targets we've polished off. I suspect it'll be Kane, even maybe Berahino, which we've talked about in recent weeks, and you're nodding your head, but it's likely.
I just don't think it's United quality.
No, it's not at all.
I mean, I'm not looking...
It's just raw potential.
I'm not looking for a 25-man squad of, Galacticos. I'm not after the Real Madrid treatment. I just think it's a position that we haven't got.
I understand what you're saying, though, but we can't get them. This is the issue. This is why I'm moving on to Kane and Berahino. I
think we could.
I don't think.
I think they are going to cost a lot of money.
Bayern Munich have just sold us probably one of their best midfielders in the last 10 years. Do you think they'll sell us one of their best strikers?
You're arguing also that
when there's nothing in the market.
I think they would.
If we know there's nothing in the market, Bayern Munich know there's nothing in the market.
There is a Benteke in the market.
He's Liverpool bound.
But we hope.
You're hoping that, but is a player with almost 20 goals this year a bad option?
He's also scored the most headed goals in the last 2 seasons, and he's going to the team last season who had the least crosses. Work that out. Brendan Rodgers' transfer strategy.
Well, you never know, do you?
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, we're not exactly well renowned for our crossing, are we?
No.
I mean, if you look at...
Well, in the past with Fellaini, I'm not sure you can argue that.
To be fair, a headed cross got us the Champions League football.
Yeah, sadly. I think it was one of few, though. I mean, that was one of about, 5 chances we created all season.
And if you count one of Young's scruffy goals against Tottenham, then you've got quite a few contenders.
Moving back to the striker debate, obviously, who do you think we could realistically get?
I just think, right, here's my thing.
I agree with what you're saying about it's not world class.
I'm going to
I don't know who we can get.
I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
I'm going to prefix it with there's less money in Germany, right? There's a lot more in terms of TV rights, etc. We get a lot more money. German clubs are falling behind on that. They need cash.
So are Spanish clubs, but it doesn't mean we can sign Benzema or Ronaldo.
I think we could sign Benzema for the cash, but I wouldn't want him. But I genuinely think if you throw it would be significant amounts of money. It would be ridiculous. It would probably be Premier League record again. But I think you could get one of the two of them. I really do.
Which one? Which one would you have?
Well, who I'd have all day, Lewandowski.
Yeah, I'd have Lewandowski.
All day.
I don't agree with you. I don't think you'd sell. I think they dig the heels in. He's got 4 years left on his contract. They're in a strong position. If they don't want to sell, they don't have to sell.
They don't have to sell, but at the same time,
they don't
need
the
cash.
money. No,
I think they do.
I disagree. They just spent 35 million on Douglas Costa. I don't think I don't think they need the cash.
I think they'll fall behind. That's my thoughts.
I disagree with that. That's why my opinion is Kane and Berahino, because I don't think we can get who Andy thinks we can.
Champions League winners Kane and Berahino. Question 5 then. We'll go to you, Joe, and this one's also going out to the fans to end the shootout, because of course it can't be a shootout without 5.
You had to have it back, didn't you?
Yep.
You couldn't accept it.
He also threw in at the end as well, like Champions League football quote. Lewandowski, he didn't win last year, did he?
Oh no, he had one poor game against Real Madrid, so that means he's awful, doesn't it?
He's not gettable.
Joe, question 5.
I'll split up the fight.
It's a good job we're at opposite ends of the table.
Disagreement over here.
Absolutely. Do you think United's transfer business is done? And if not, who do you think we still need to sign?
I Yes, I think you've got. It's a very tough question, I suppose. It's almost done, I'd say. I think you're not looking at any more than kind of one more player. I think they've spent a lot this window. I think if you would have said to you at the end of this season, are you happy with 4 players coming in to improve our squad? And most people would have said yes. They weren't thinking 6, 7. You've got to say that the transfer window is pretty much closing for United with one more transfer remaining.
Okay.
The chain effect is Ramos, really. If reports are to be believed, and he does want to come, and his girlfriend's been speaking recently as well and mentioned a few things that were quite interesting, but I think if Madrid do, submit Ramos to us, De Gea would go to Madrid, there would be a little chain effect of more deals then, because we'd be scrambling for a keeper and a forward.
Yeah, but we're going to end up paying more for Ramos than we'll get for De Gea.
Yes, the market we're in. He's got 2 years left in his contract. De Gea's got 1.
Exactly. But the thing is, have we got that money to keep blowing on players that are potentially going to work for us or potentially not?
I think we do. Yeah, I don't think we're stuck for money. I think if we want to overpay, we can overpay. It's daft, but we can do it.
Every signing's a gamble.
Oh, indeed.
At the end of the day, whatever you pay for him, whether you get him on a free like Valdez or whether you pay 59.7 like you did for Di Maria, you're always gambling.
I mean, the rumour was it was 150 million in this transfer window, wasn't it? We're tallying up pretty much almost to 100 now, 120. It's not...
Well, I mean, if you look at the 4 we brought in, I think it works out around 78 million. I think it is. It's something in that region. It's not that big a spend. And also, if you think about the net spend, once our VP's fees agreed, probably in the region of 4.5. Nani, 5.5. Cleverly,
about 60 million, isn't it?
he went for free. But yeah, when you look at net spend, you probably are looking more like sort of 60, 65.
So possibly, if we have got 150 and you take the remaining 60, 70 million and you offer it Bayern Munich for Lewandowski, would it work, Andy?
There you go. You've answered my question.
Not this summer, it wouldn't.
There you go.
Maybe there's talk about Di Maria wanting to leave. What do you think about that?
It could just be rumours, really, couldn't it? It's a bit like Otamendi. We said he's just run off from the squad and said, I'm not coming back.
Hopefully back July 25th, according to Louis van Gaal, but even he didn't seem convinced on that. We'll talk Di Maria later on in the show on the Transfer Talk. That's been our thoughts on the big questions surrounding United this week. Let us know your thoughts on any of the questions, in particular the last one. Do you think United's transfer business is done? And who else do you still think that we need? Let us know. We're at WeFollowUnited on Twitter. Next up, we're going to rub it in the face of Dodgy Dave. We can't get Schweinsteiger, he said. I think not.
If you get Schweinsteiger, Arsenal are going to get Benzema. I put money on that. I put money on that. £1 bet, £1 fish.
Brilliant. What a fantastic grand intro that was. For those of you... Yeah, no worries. For those of you new to the show, Dodgy Dave essentially is a bit of a joke of a feature. It's a sort of typical standard glory supporting type, switches allegiance to club, etc. But those of you that listen to the show will have heard that clip that we just played there, where last week we made a bit of a bet over the phone with Dodgy Dave. He said there's no chance we're getting Schweinsteiger. We're in dream world. We said we wanted Schneiderlin, but in fact...
I think I said we'd get both, Andy.
Well, you did. And in exchange for that, we put money on it, a £1 bet.
£1 bet, £1 fish.
There you go. And Dave said if we get Schweinsteiger, they'll get Benzema. So, Dave, welcome to the show. I know you're going to get Benzema.
Thank you. Yes, we are. Can I was that a theme tune? Was that Little Britain or Jurassic Park?
It was the latter. Good observation.
Thank you.
So
yeah, we're definitely going to get Benzema.
So you think that £1 for me and £1 for Nick is still safe, yeah?
Hang on, I was at... yeah.
Yeah, we signed you up.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a way out of it. I was going to give you 50p each.
It was just how fiercely confident he was. You're not getting Schweinsteiger. You're not getting Schneiderlin.
If you get Schweinsteiger, Arsenal are going to get Benzema. Money on that. I'll put money on that.
You can stop doing that.
I'm afraid we can't stop Joe playing what he wants to play.
Oh, no. Well, yeah, that's clearly...
You're going to live with that one for a while, aren't you?
I have got egg on my face, yes, that is correct.
I can't wait, Dave. You know what? I'm going to... we have a bit of a thing about transfer deadline day anyway. We usually meet up and go to the pub to watch it, quite sadly. But I'm actually quite looking forward to this one, Dave. We'll go down to the pub, we'll have a beer.
Hopefully United won't be involved.
We'll watch Benzema not come to Arsenal. And I'll greatly enjoy it.
He'll already be at Arsenal before that anyway.
Of course.
We won't leave until deadline, Dave.
Now, Dave, I hate to steal from a man, so I'm going to give you a chance to win your money back, but this is going to be a long-term bet. If you want to take it on, I'm going to make it to you. Your big signing, of course, so far has been Petr Cech so far. Recently, of course, we got Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger.
And Darmian.
Yeah.
Yep. So we proved you wrong. Now,
you don't know that guy, are you?
No, never. Now, obviously, none of us know what's yet to come in this transfer window, but I'm going to make you a bet regardless of who United bring in, regardless of who Arsenal go on to sign. I think because of the defensive shape we're going to be given by the new signings, I will make you a bet if you want to take it up, another £1 bet. I think United will concede less goals than Arsenal next season in the Premier League. Don't know what your thoughts are.
Do you still have Johnny Evans?
£1 bet, £1 fish.
We did concede less than you last season.
We do have Johnny Evans still. He might be going to Everton, hopefully.
I mean, if you still got Johnny Evans, I'm more than happy to take that bet on. These are just a catastrophe.
I mean, if he goes, Dave, we're saying regardless of who comes in and who goes out, I'm going to bet you regardless we're going to concede less than you. I don't know if you want to take that on, but...
Can I offer you a bet as well, Dave?
Well, you're just going to...
He's going to be melted.
Can I bet you that United score more goals than Arsenal?
Well, that's not going to happen. So I don't mind taking that bet on. Yeah, I'll take both bets on. Why not?
You're happy to take both bets
Splendid.
on. I mean, you won't owe us the £2 until the end of the season anyway, Dave. So you've got the whole season to save up for that £2.
You'll still ask, can you pay weekly?
I'll straight my coppers together. I hope you take plastic. I'll have to get a credit card.
You'll be getting a payday loan.
Yeah, Wonga. I'll take £2 out now and I'll owe about £10,000 at the end of the season.
Absolutely. So there you go. Another recorded bet. This one we'll have to wait until the end of the season for, although we'll have updates. We'll have updates throughout the season on this, throughout Dodgy Dave. But we think then Dave has taken on two bets. The one with Nick that Arsenal are going to score more than United is what Dave thinks. And he's also taking on a bet that says Arsenal concede less goals than United in the league. So we'll see where that one goes.
I'll tell you what.
It's all recorded, Dave, so don't worry about it. We'll have it by the end of the season. So
I'll make another bet with you.
Go on. I'm interested in taking bets up. Go on.
League goals. Danny Welbeck will score more than Memphis Depay.
That's a ridiculous bet. I'll have you on that one.
Do you want to put that on with both of us? We're both happy to accept it if you want to stick it on with both of us.
Yeah, I'll put 20p on both of you.
20p on both. All right.
That's how confident I am in that.
All right, yeah, we'll take you up on a 20p.
Right,
Small-time gambling addiction growing.
Again, he'll still ask if you can pay weekly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're going to have to ask that payday lender for a bit more now, Dave.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll win it all back, so it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be all right. Now, let's get an update on the... slightly less professional side of things, your five-a-side team, which Nick is also a glorious member of, Hangover 96.
Glorious?
Yep.
Don't want to talk about it.
I believe you played last night. How did that go?
Yeah, I thought it was quite a good game. Nick was completely distraught once we got off the pitch, holding back the tears, I think. It was 3-3 up until the end. We ended up losing it 4-3.
I thought it was abysmal last night, Dave, if I'm being honest. I'm not fishing for compliments this week.
Oh, no, you know me. You're not going to get any compliments. You were abysmal.
Yeah. I was poor last night.
Now, just to give the listeners a bit of an idea, we're all 25 now, I believe.
Supposedly.
Well, yeah, according to my driving licence. What was the average age of the team you played last night?
About 48.
Yeah, I mean, there was a couple of old sodgers.
I think there was a guy that was old enough to be my granddad, Dave, if I'm being honest with you.
Yep. And he still burnt you for pace every time he got near you, didn't he?
Doesn't say
Wait,
a lot.
I'm quicker than you, Dave.
Huh?
I'm quicker than you.
Yeah, but the thing is, you've got one running you all game.
Can I just say I'm quickest over the first yard?
Yeah, 10-yard sprint, and then you just sat down for the rest of the game trying to catch your breath.
Brilliant. Right, Dave, let's end as we always do.
Touch of a mule as well, sorry.
Had to get it in there, didn't he? Let's end as we always do, Dave, with the usual. What's your story of the week for us?
Story of the week, a bit of an eventful one last weekend. Out and about around Manchester again on Weirdo Watch, and saw a stag do. One guy, full Dorothy from Wizard of Oz dress, riding a mobility scooter through Piccadilly Gardens, balloons on the mobility scooter, and wearing a full-on gimp mask. It's a bit like Kane from WWF. Hit the curb. The mobility scooter went over one way, he went over the other. Many people laughed.
Cheers, Dave. Well, what a show it's been this evening. Plenty to talk about, thankfully, for the first time in weeks. We're going to end the show as we always do with our dedicated transfer talk. We've covered a lot of it, but there are still a couple of things that we just want to go into a little bit more detail on. First of all, of course, Robin van Persie, basically out the door. He's been unveiled by Fenerbahce. It's just the fee we need to agree, but he's basically gone. And as we've discussed earlier in the show, that leaves us really short in terms of centre-forward options. Now, we've mentioned plenty already of centre-forwards that we don't think realistically we could get. But there's been this one running this week, Nick, as I'm sure you've seen. Edison Cavani has been recently linked with us. Now, would we be getting a good replacement for Van Persie with a striker like Cavani?
We'd be getting a replacement. Whether or not he's good, I don't know. Obviously, you know my issues regarding Cavani. He's never played in the Premier League. He has a brilliant record that he's always highlighted on Sky Sports.
Yeah, superb. Over the last 4 seasons,
yeah,
it is phenomenal.
You look at the leagues he's done it in. I'd rank them lower than the Spanish league, and I don't rank the Spanish league, barring Barca and Madrid, particularly highly. So can he do that at 28 in the Premier League?
I'd be worried about that. And also, I mean, if you look at it in terms of his career at PSG, he's not even their first choice striker. He's played out on the left because, of course, they play Ibrahimovic,
who's 34.
They play a 34-year-old ahead of their
a 28-year-old in his prime.
Absolutely, and that worries me because Ibrahimovic has been a sensational player.
Oh yeah,
but I just think
he's past his best.
It rings alarm bells that Cavani can't get ahead of him. Why is he not their main man? That's a big concern for me also. I mean, if he did come to United, Nick, I mean, this Di Maria story won't go away, and there's been links Di Maria for Cavani swap deal.
I think me and you both agree with this, Andy. I think he wants to leave Di Maria. It's been going on too long now.
Looks that way.
Van Gaal's press conference did not fill me with a lot of hope. We're supposed to see him on the 25th of July. It seemed really blasé. He didn't seem particularly bothered. I just don't think he's a Van Gaal type player, and I just don't think it's worked out for Angel.
Doesn't seem to fit into the system. I mean, if Cavani did come, if that rumour did turn out to be true and he went to PSG in exchange for him, I mean, how upset would you be involved in that swap deal?
Very much so, yeah. I think I'd love to give Di Maria another chance. I don't think he's done yet. He's a world-class talent. I'd love to see him on the wing, possibly, or even more centrally, but I don't think he'd get there now. But my issue with Cavani, if he comes in, is he going to dislodge Rooney? Is he much better than what Rooney is?
Because I think as well, if we get rid of Di Maria, are we even replacing him? Or are we going to go Cavani, Depay and Rooney front three? Because is Cavani going to get ahead of Rooney?
Would he come if he wasn't guaranteed a central spot? He's been playing second fiddle to Ibrahimovic for the last 3 years.
I don't think he'd be happy with it.
I don't.
But at the same time, I don't think he's going to have the quality in the Premier League to dislodge Rooney. It's a big issue.
There's rumours as well, that obviously on Twitter again, that the PSG president or something has said that Cavani, they're not interested in selling him. He's part of their long-term plans. So the Di Maria apparently would be a completely independent deal, but Di Maria doesn't want to go there, according to reports.
Absolutely. He might be on his way back to Madrid.
Bayern Munich
as well. So there are a host of clubs potentially he could be going to. Now, if we got rid of Di Maria, one man that potentially could replace him if we had to, I know that you were mentioning to me earlier on this week, was Griezmann.
I love Griezmann, yeah. I watch a lot of Spanish football, particularly the bigger teams, just so I can get an idea of the sort of players they have. Antoine Griezmann started off at Sociedad. He played on the wing, and he's become more centrally developed under De Simeone. That's where he plays him. He's played 37 games this season and scored 22 goals. No idea how many assists he's got, But he's 5'9", he's only 24 years old. I think he'd be brilliant for us, and he could operate on the right wing.
He could, absolutely, and could be the sort of man to replace Di Maria and perhaps fit Van Gaal's
4-3-3.
Yeah, I was going to say the P word then, but we'll go 4-3-3.
Yeah, that's a naughty word, the P word.
Horrible word. Yeah, so I mean, how much do you reckon we'd be looking at in terms of buying Griezmann? Is it realistic money?
Yeah, I don't want to sound disrespectful towards Atletico Madrid, but I think he's at a club where United could get him. I don't think they're particularly big hitters in the European stage. We've talked obviously about Lewandowski and Muller, who I'd love, but I don't think Bayern would sell this summer. He'd cost them 25 million British pound, so you're talking he's had a really good season. He's still very young. He looks a brilliant player. You're talking upwards of 40 to 45 million, in my opinion.
Realistic target?
I'd personally go for him. I think he'd be brilliant, and I think he'd slot in where Di Maria's left. I don't think Van Gaal will go for him. He's a very out of the box shout, and not many people have mentioned him. I've only seen a few people on Twitter talk about him.
Yeah, so potentially one that we could be missing out on there. Let's have an update further back in terms of the pitch. Two centre backs that have been
dominating all summer, haven't they?
All summer long, and
just not on the pitch.
I imagine that they'll continue to. Otamendi, first of all, player doesn't want to go back to Valencia. He's basically on strike now, so that's the end of him. Going back to Valencia, he surely looks like he's on his way, hopefully. But then we hear Ramos, his girlfriend's come out with some very interesting comments. Nick.
Yeah, you've got to sort of go in between it all, between the lines, because there's a lot of fake ones out there. But basically, I think the actual comment she mentioned was she's learning English, and wherever Sergio goes, she wants to go as well. She has no issue with going to another country. I'm not sure if she highlighted England, but she just said she no problem with her moving abroad. It won't affect her as long as she's with Sergio. So where she got that from?
Well, who knows? 60 million euros supposedly the bid we're going to throw in there. Real Madrid wanting something like 90.
I think that's rubbish.
Do you think it's going to happen, this deal, or do you think we'll end up with Otamendi? Neither or both?
I think it depends on United more than Madrid. I think Madrid are desperate for De Gea. Now Casillas has gone to Porto. They're talking 90 million for Sergio Ramos. I think that's absolute nonsense. I think if we offer them 50 million, I think Florentino will be very, very tempted to get rid. Because is he going to be a problem player for them next season if he doesn't want to be there?
Could be, especially as captain as well. Real interesting debates again. Just in one word, Nick, do you think we'll get either of the two?
I think we'll get one of them. I said that last week. Who it's going to be, we'll have to wait and see.
Okay, we certainly will. If you've got anything to say on any of the debates covered on this week's show, please do get in touch with us. We'd love to hear your views on it. We're at We Follow United on Twitter, so do get involved there. You can also, of course, find us on youtube.com/We Follow United. All our previous podcasts are on there as well for you to view. Thanks, as always, for listening. Last week's podcast was a record breaker in terms of views for us. We hope this one continues to be. Thanks, as always, for your support. We'll see you next week.